and welcome to episode 5 of our Self-Love podcast. And today our philosophy point is number 5. Self-approval and self-acceptance are the keys to positive changes. And I have to say, Sharon, we've been speaking recently about the fact that everything that is happening around us, sometimes it's because we're not in that space. We're being made to feel that we're out of that space, that we don't approve of ourselves, we don't accept ourselves, and we put the authority outside of ourselves. And that is where we want to move people, especially in this work that Louise has done. We want to move people back into knowing that, you know what, you're a-okay exactly how you are.
Totally. And it's so important to give self-approval to yourself and accept yourself for who you are. Even if you have stuffed up, it's okay. One of the biggest lessons I recently just had was I had done something wrong and I had to actually take full ownership of it. And I had been a bitch about somebody. I'd said something I shouldn't have about somebody else. And it got back to, that person. And I was confronted by that person about it. There was nothing I could do except go, I did it, and I'm sorry. Yeah. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have behaved that way. Then how do I react towards myself? I have to let myself acknowledge that, yes, I stuffed up, but don't beat myself up too hard, because that's where you start to learn, and that's how you create the positive change in yourself, because we are on a human journey. And we are going to make mistakes. But how we react to those mistakes and how we treat ourselves really can impact the situation. I could not believe, Wendy, how quickly it went away once I took ownership for it and apologised.
Exactly. And you know what? Accepting ourselves exactly as we are, for all of our good, bad and ugly. And, I think that we live in a society too that there's a certain percentage that, and this may come out wrong, but there's a certain percentage that don't recognise that. They see that, you've got to be this light and, everything's about the light, there's no darkness. That's bullshit, because every one of us has got a shadow side. And, Deborah Ford wrote a book 20 years ago about exactly that, and being able to own that part of you, accept that that's a part of you, and then have a look at how everything moves, through the process. What does forgiveness play in that? What does gratitude play in that? That whole, the approval is, approve of yourself no matter what's going on. And have a look at the list goes long of the affirmations that Louise wrote all around the self-approval and self-acceptance part of it, because we can be our own worst enemies, and we create that anxiety and that lack of self-esteem. We create because of what happens between these 6 inches here, that we have to take responsibility for that. And this being the point of today, this being the philosophy point of today, really is about everyone accepting that you are going to screw up, but you've got to learn how to accept those parts of yourself that you don't necessarily like, and approve of who you are, wholeheartedly approve of who you are, because you are a divine being. You are here for a reason. And we've spoke about at an earlier episode about, you are a child of the universe, for all of the sham and drudgery and whatever about life, like, you are here for a reason. And that whole, if we can get to that, then have a look at how life really does change. When you approve of who you are and you forgive yourself for past screw-ups, and know that God, and the mantra is, I am perfectly imperfect.
Yes.
I don't ever profess to be anything other than I'm here to live every day in the present moment and yes, I'm going to try and be the best version of myself in every single possible way, but there are going to be things that people don't approve of. And, you know, we sit in a world where judgment is very much still a part of society, but we don't necessarily have to take that judgment on board either.
No, 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 absolutely not. And I've been creating some self-care stuff myself, and that is one of the big things, is the judgment and taking on board what is happening around your environment and whether you bring that into your life or not. And that actually really does all boil back down to the self-approval and the self-acceptance. How do you accept you for you? Do you approve of when you do things and when you don't that are acceptable to society? Like as I mentioned, you know, with me saying something I shouldn't have, and I was just saying what I felt. It wasn't a malice thing. I just happened to make a comment about somebody not smiling, and that's how I sort of felt about it. However, the important thing is, when I actually apologised and took that away, I couldn't believe how humbling that was for me to accept that I had actually spoke my truth, but I'd also acknowledged that speaking my truth was hurting somebody else. And so there's all those different angles. And so, you know, some of you may be sitting out there thinking, well, you shouldn't have said anything in the first place. Well, no, I shouldn't have. But I also, if I didn't, I wasn't speaking my truth. So that's where some of us, we tend to, and look, Wendy, help me out wherever you can here. We can sometimes find ourselves in a little bit of shit because we might actually say what we feel. And then when we get beaten down by all those judgments and those comments, our self-approval, self-acceptance just totally deflate.
And then we then have that throat problem where we're not willing to say anything for fear of what other people will think or how it may affect somebody else. When in actual fact, we are here to live true to ourselves. And I always believe that it's, you know, things can be taken the wrong way. They can be taken as a gift, or they can be taken as a piece of rubbish, you know, that it's, you know, what we do in our world always has got to be, you know, you can go through those three gates, you know, is it true, is it whatever, you know, that whole thing. And yes, they are really important, but at the end of the day, how many people are stifled from speaking their truth because of, and the greatest advice is about, Wayne Dyer says it perfectly, is giving up the good opinion of others, you know, because other people will always, it is, no matter what you do in life, everyone's always going to have an opinion. They are like arseholes, everyone's got one. And seriously, let everyone have that, but don't take that on as being your level of self-worth. It's just like a child, you know, when my kids were going through school and you get to that, you know, to the pointy end of their schooling, and they're looking at a score that is going to determine their self-worth, you know, whether they get whatever score that is to get into university or to get into whatever. And that's how they determine their self-worth, when that's a whole heap of bullshit. It's like the woman who has this imagination of, you know, or has an addiction, I guess, to standing on a set of scales, and the number on the scales is what determines their self-worth. You know, this goes into a lot of different areas in life. But when we acknowledge who we are, and we approve of who we are, and we accept every single lump, bump, good, bad, ugly, like I said before, and know that in our heart that we are being the best version of who we are, with never an ounce of malice to hurt anybody else in how we travel through this life, then you know, all of that stuff out there where people's opinions or, you know, people's judgments or whatever will never faze us, because we know that we've not gone out to intentionally do any harm.
And I think really importantly as well is, what do you learn from that? Like, a big lesson for me is, now I also ask myself, is that something I need to say out loud? And so I'm more aware. This would have, I'm sure this same situation would have happened to me years ago when I was less aware of where I am now, and much less aware of self-love and self-approval and self-acceptance. And I probably just would have went, who cares what they said? That's exactly would have been my reaction. I don't really give a rap. However, now I'm much more aware of that. I was concerned and I could apologise with ease. And I think that also helps. I believe, and you know, you all may have different opinions to this, but I believe that is an act of my self-approval and self-acceptance, by being able to acknowledge that I wasn't right, by being able to say I was sorry, because I'm very comfortable in my own skin now to acknowledge that I do make mistakes, and that's okay.
Yeah, but you know, when you said what you said, I don't know what you said, but, and it may have been said in passing, wasn't necessarily, you know, sometimes we'll say, oh, you know, she looked really sad, or she looked really angry, or something, that you might be speaking about somebody, but it's not meant like it's more for when that person may hear about it, that you can say, look, is everything okay? Like, is, you know, I was concerned, I noticed, I felt how you felt. So is there, you know, can I help in any way? Is there something there that you know, and you know that?
No, I just made a comment that wasn't necessary.
Yeah, okay. But you're owning it, like, you know what, and that's okay. It is, you know, and being able to be, you know, when we have a look at all of these philosophies, every single one of them, and you have if you've touched on any of Louise's work, it's about self-responsibility. The whole thing is about self-responsibility, isn't it? So we are responsible. We cannot put on, you know, that unworthiness hat, or that lack of self-acceptance, if we are self-responsible, because exactly we don't surrender that responsibility out to anyone else to make us feel anything but how we feel about ourselves. And it's up to us for us to move the needle in the right direction as to how we feel. And so, yeah, I just think that it's more that we really need to be on our game and owning every part of it. You know, we can't, there's a certain amount to gain from that victimhood type mentality too. I think that there's, you know, when we move away from, or we show someone how to feel empowered, as opposed to them getting any kind of reaction or attention through something that is like a victim type situation, that is going to be what brings their self-worth and their self-acceptance up, you know, because it's about them being the greatest version of themselves. And every one of us can contribute to the greater good of the next person by us seeing something grander and pointing out that maybe, you know, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. You know, if it's that you're feeling that there's a lack of self-worth, it might be playing out in a different way. That we can say to that person, you know what, how about you look at it this way, and look at it from an empowering point of view, and this is what you're going to get, is something grander than to be stuck in that lack of, in the world of lack, really, isn't it? Because it's a lack of self-worth, it's a lack of self-esteem, it's a lack of self-acceptance, it's a lack of, and it really is a life of limitations, because we're giving away the ability for us to experience life in all of its totality, by giving away the power to others, or, you know, to give more importance to what other people think of us than what we think of ourselves.
Oh, totally. And I have to admit, empowerment's probably a great word. It really goes well with self-approval and self-acceptance, because once you actually have that self, and I don't mean in an egotistical way, I always stress that. Ego is nothing to do with self-approval, self-love, self-acceptance. It's this is actually about genuinely loving you for who you are as Wendy said earlier, bumps and all, and accepting that, one, you're in control of what you do, how you act, how you react, the choices you make in life, and how you behave towards others and yourself. And once you start to take responsibility for that, it is very much empowerment. It can be total transformation and empowerment.
Yeah. And you've got to desire that.
Absolutely. Totally.
You know?
You've got to want that.
Yeah. You got to get off the nail that is the uncomfortable place to sit and acknowledge that, you are worthy of everything. You are deserving. You are
Good enough.
Yeah, absolutely, that whole good enough thing, and that's about acceptance, the self-acceptance part of it. So yeah, I mean, great lessons to learn for everybody, and when we're really honest, I think that we do see a lot of glossing over of really dealing with or getting in and acknowledging what we're talking about here. And there, you can plaster all of the nice, good feeling bullshit on the outside, but until you start to really look at yourself and go through the process, look yourself in the mirror. How do you feel when you look at yourself in the mirror? Are you immediately judgmental? Or are you accepting of exactly what you see back at, that's reflecting back at you? There's little ways in which you can do it, but, just to keep putting Band-Aids on is never going to work. You have to actually get in and start to desire to really, really attack it from a point of view. And I don't see that from deal with it or move through it and address it, I guess, instead of attack, but address it from a different viewpoint, because a large amount of where we see the lack of self-worth, the lack of, the not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I don't deserve it. A lot of that is not coming from a place of being responsible, of that self-responsibility and saying, you know what, that's what you may feel, but here inside of me, I know that I'm deserving. And I'm seeing it within, women's businesses, to know that they're deserving of being able to put to put their services out there, to be able to, charge for their services, to be able to put a profile or have a home on the internet that is worthy of them being there. There's so many people that will not put their toe in the water because of how they feel about themselves. And that's, a great indication.
And I think that's a really important point as well. How do you feel about yourself? I mean, that's a really important question to ask yourself. Look in the mirror, look deep into your eyes. Don't judge yourself. We're not looking at whether you've got wrinkles or not, or marks or bumps or spots or whatever else. You're looking into your soul, and that is through your eyes.
Yep.
And you're just going to ask yourself, how do I really feel about me? Do I feel good enough? Am I good enough? And I know myself, because I went on that self journey and also take many of my clients on that journey. It can be a really daunting process.
Oh, yes, it is.
But it also can be an extremely healing process if you keep the process up and really get to know who you are. Because if you're struggling with relationships, the first thing you need to do is look at yourself and ask, if you don't love yourself or you don't give yourself self-approval or self-acceptance, how do you expect somebody else to? How do you expect someone to walk on your journey with you if you don't even want to walk on your own journey?
Yeah. And if you can't love you, then how can you love another? Because you are your own best friend. You're with you until the end.
Absolutely.
You are the longest relationship you will ever have.
Yes.
Is the one with yourself.
I just recently listened to Michael McConaughey's Green Lights, and he very much, when he went through his total transformation, from going from romantic comedy into the roles that he plays these days, And he said he literally had to take himself away and learn to like being with the person he had to be with every day of his life, the person he never could get away from, the person that was going to be there regardless or when everybody else wasn't. And so getting to know that person, which is you, means taking responsibility for when you're not approving of yourself or you're not accepting of yourself. And when you are judging yourself, you'll find that you're judging others as well.
Yeah. And so there's a place there to go. And we will go into a lot of that in the next, I think the next episode, we're going to touch on point number 6, and we're going to explore that a little bit better. But, you know, there's 2 places that I just mentioned before, forgiveness and gratitude. You know, we have to be grateful for everything. Like, you know, when you're looking in the mirror, I'm grateful for every wrinkle, because every wrinkle has a life experience, and I wouldn't change 1 minute of any of my journey up until this this is the 6th decade for me. So I really would, I cherish every moment, and there's not one part of any of it that I would change, because it's been an experience and it's grown me. It's made, you know, it's made me the strength, the person that I am now. You know, and it's, you know, you look at yourself from a different point of view. I think from a different viewpoint, not point of view, but from a different viewpoint, where you see with gratitude the things that usually you would jump into judgment and go, oh my God, like, look at that. Oh my God, look at that. You know, that's not good enough. I need to do something about that. And what you get is real, like,
yes, authentic,
absolutely real. Yeah.
You.
And the authentic is because I absolutely would not change a thing. I absolutely accept every single part of me, and I absolutely love and approve of every single part of me.
And I understand the journey I've had has created who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there's a lot to be said, you know, that I don't know whether you've seen them, and we're probably going to get into dangerous ground here, but I've seen a lot of things happening on social media and advertising TV shows of where cosmetic surgery's gone wrong, and people have decided to go and do something, and it's gone wrong, but they did it in the first place because they didn't accept themselves the way that they were. They were trying to, you know, get something, that there was something that they thought needed to be made better by man-made stuff. And, you know, Mother Nature has always had it absolutely right. She's never let us down in any way, shape or form. And how the divine has appeared for you in this lifetime is absolutely good enough. And that's the acceptance. That's the self-acceptance. And that's, you know, it's sad when I see those shows and I see the people are, you know, trying to attain something that is just showing me that they really just don't love themselves. They're always looking to be, you know, for something to be changed about them to make them lovable or worthy or deserving, or for them to accept themselves. I think it's sad.
And that goes for, you know, all sexes as well. It doesn't just go for women, it goes for men as well, you know,
Absolutely.
Not being able to approve of themselves, always looking for something better, brighter. And I don't mean that towards, you know, creating a better life. I'm talking about how they feel about themselves.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, if you find that you're overweight and you really struggle with that, well, do something about it in a gentle way. Do something about it in a way that's going to be aligning to your energy.
In a healthy way. In a healthy way.
In a way that's actually going to teach you to love who you are as you change and you evolve, because that will happen. You know, you will then start to change and evolve. And I know this is a bit of a funny story. As I started to put on weight, I used to always still think of myself as that size 10 person. And then I'd look in the mirror and have to go, oh, holy shit, no, I'm not. But again, it's about taking that self-approval of who you are. And I'm responsible for that. If I don't like it, change it.
Yeah.
And look at the most non-invasive and the healthiest way to change it. And from there, you'll actually start to bring joy into your life in all aspects of your life.
Look, I had, through one business stream, I had interaction with a girl, and she had had breast implants. And so I was working with her in alternative health because she had a lot of health issues. And she had just continued to get bigger and bigger implants because it was, so it was serving this look that she was trying to attain. And it wasn't until she got in touch with me, like we'd done all that I knew as far as, being able to get toxicity out of her body and whatever. And it wasn't until she came back to me and she actually wrote a really great piece as a recommendation for others that all of her health issues went away when she got the implants taken out, and that's a great, because they were leaking into her system, and so that's what she said. I started to sacrifice my health for the aesthetics, for the body that I thought that I thought would be loved by others, and not necessarily what I needed to have myself. And so now she's gone through that love of herself, that self-acceptance of who she is and how she looks and what she's been blessed with, and a gratitude for the other things in life that meant more than her with having that perfect figure for those that, for that bikini or for, that particular fashion that she was trying to attain. So, there's a lot of things that go hand in hand with it, and seriously, women especially put themselves through absolute so much to be able to look in a certain way because of what they think society needs of them to be accepted and to be worthy of. And that's, it's a money-making venture for another industry that is just, but it can be so debilitating for that human, and what they will sacrifice, and then the mental debris, which then it kind of concretizes the lack of self-worth, the lack of self-acceptance, and it becomes like a domino, like a vicious circle thing, doesn't it? And it's not until you step out of that and you think, okay, like, I love and accept myself just the way I am. And I think that's one of the most powerful things that we do within the 2-day workshops, when the Heal Your Life workshops, is that whole process of I love and accept myself exactly as I am, because that's one of the greatest things that we can get to as a human being, is to be in that place where we're comfortable in our own skin.
Totally.
and we're not looking outside for approval from, or acceptance from, or having to meet somebody else's idea of what we should be. And that is the empowerment. That is, at that particular point in time, is when you know that you feel empowered, that you feel like that you've got a place here in this time, like your life means something for you to be important enough to be accepted and worthy, but not in anyone else's eyes, in your own. And I think that's the key.
Absolutely. I totally am. Look, it's, and I just can't stress enough that many different sizes that I've been, loving me for me, who I am. And I find the most important thing for me, and this works for me, is, am I happy with me? I ask myself often, am I happy with who I am? Am I happy with where I am at on my journey? And if I say no, well, I then have to ask, well, what do I need to change? And then I need to start working on that.
So what can I do about it?
Sorry?
What can I do about it?
That's exactly right.
If I'm not happy, what can I do about it?
That's exactly right. What do I need to change?
Because I'm responsible for for that being like that. I need to be responsible for making the changes to change it.
Absolutely. Oh, that's exactly right. When you take responsibility for yourself, your self-worth, you absolutely can change anything. And you'll be quite surprised how things change themselves.
When you start to love and accept yourself and you feel that you're worthy, then see what comes in from others and how they see you worthy and how they accept you. And, you know, relationships where you have felt like that you've withdrawn a little, that you don't feel like you cut the mustard with that particular person or that particular group, and then you do the work and you love and accept yourself and you feel that you're worthy, and see the dynamics change in how they interact towards you. Because
Totally.
you know, everything that we experience in life, we're projecting it out. We're living the manifest of what we imagine to be. And that's where, you know, Louise's thing, you know, I don't know about you, but when I walked in the door, the very first thing when I went and did my first, the first step in being certified was, it's only a thought and a thought can be changed. And have a look at how debilitating some of those bloody thoughts are.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Yep.
We just think shit up.
We do. And we then think it so much that we create a story bigger than Pinocchio's nose.
Or we manifest it. We make it happen. We create
if
our
you
reality.
Believe enough, it'll happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are what you think.
We think it into existence.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so the moral of the story. Sorry, go.
I say to my clients all the time, be careful what you ask for.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, words we speak. What's coming out of here, you're going to see out there very soon.
Going into the universe.
Yeah,
and
because, you know, you're thinking it, you're speaking it, you'll create it.
That's it. You'll be living it before you know it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the moral of the story is we can change that whole scenario of feeling less than, feeling not good enough, feeling unworthy or undeserving, because it starts with us, with the individual. It starts with the you that you see reflecting back from you in the mirror. And there's some really, like, you know, stepping into this work and working with us as coaches, and, you know, or you know, taking a workshop with us, we're going to give you tools. The whole thing about this is, and I've always said this, is that this work is simple. It's not easy because between here gets in the way.
Yeah.
But it is simple. Look in the mirror. Do what needs to be done there. Have a look at what you're doing and why you're doing it, and get the thoughts out of your head. And, you know, from the self-care things that we, you know, practices that we will encourage you to participate in. But the rest of it, you know, the whole process of being able to witness how your life is right now and how you can change it, because it's only been that, you know, those pages, you've believed the shit that's been written by others on the pages of your story. And
absolutely.
And it's simple to change it, but it's not easy because it takes responsibility. That key word again.
And you can change the story anytime you want.
Absolutely. Bloody oath you can.
So
I
rewrite a story.
am an example of that you can at any time. Yeah. So on that note, we're going to, let's have a treatment, and then I've got to find it now. I had the most perfect treatment.
And Louise Hay, actually, that's how she responds to all of her self-love, is through what she calls a treatment. And it's a beautiful set of words created into a nearly sometimes even a verse. And it's about wrapping yourself in love, really.
Yeah, and when you want to find it, you can't find it. You know that? I
Oh,
did find.
just choose one. Just get spirit to say, give me one. Just flip the pages open and just let open up onto it that's relevant for this group right now.
In the infinity of life where I am, all is perfect, whole and complete. I now choose calmly and objectively to see my old patterns, and I am willing to make changes. I am teachable, I can learn, I am willing to change. I choose to have fun doing this. I choose to react as though I have found a treasure when I discover something else to release. I see and feel myself changing moment by moment. Thoughts no longer have power over me. I am the power in the world. I choose to be free. All is well in my world. Not exactly the one I was thinking about, but it is absolutely appropriate. And
remind yourself that all is well in my world. My favourite saying is everything always works out well. And it does. Go back to the worst situation you ever had and ask me, did it actually work out well? Mostly
exactly.
It does.
Yeah, absolutely it does. My oath. And, you know, there's little books that you can get that are part of Louise's work. And, you know, you've got one, The Trust Life, or Embrace Your Power, or Experiencing Your Good Now. And most of these will come as part of a mini workshop that you can come and work with us to actually implement what is in that book or that you know, that set of teachings, that we will sit with you and help you go through that and make the subtle changes that you need. So keep an eye on our websites for those workshops. And until next time, goodbye, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the podcast.
Take care, be kind, and know you are always enough.
See ya.
Bye.